While Doctrine I is not required to take this course, it contains some building blocks that are helpful for thinking through the subjects in this course. In this lecture, we'll review some of the items covered there and their relevance to this course. Systematic theology attempts to take a systematic or orderly approach to the doctrines of the faith. There are many subjects covered in the books of the Bible, but rarely does God say everything he intends to about just one subject in just one place. Believing that God is wise and orderly in his ways and in his creation, we want to be thoughtful about how we listen and discern what he has revealed. The main topics of the Christian faith are ordered around a traditional set of commonplaces or loci that have been a part of the conversation for centuries. These may be found in one order or another in the table of contents of most major systematic theologies. Doctrine I covers topics like who God is, how he has revealed himself, who he created man to be, and how sin affected that. God's nature and character is foundational to all of theology because everything that exists was made by God according to his wisdom for his purposes. God is perfectly good. So as we explore the moral aspects of God's teaching, we find them all grounded in God's own goodness. God exists in three persons, and this is central to the Christian faith. While the first person, the Father, is often treated as part of talking about God's nature in general, the other two have more unique roles in the history of salvation and are thus treated separately. So the study of the second person, the Son, Jesus Christ, builds on the doctrines of God, man, and sin, because Jesus is fully God and fully man, yet was without sin. His ministry directly addresses sin, and so it is in close conversation with the doctrine of salvation. His return is the focus of eschatology, or the doctrine of end times, which we will cover at the end of this course. The third person is the Holy Spirit, who is our first subject of study in Doctrine II. Being fully God, we understand him in the context of what we studied about God's nature. His ministry is related to that of the Son, and perhaps more directly relates to other subjects studied in this course. He is the one who applies Christ's saving work to people, both in salvation and in the ongoing process of sanctification. In so doing, he is also the one who builds the church and gives it life. Salvation and sanctification, of course, address what is wrong with man, and so they build on an understanding of God's nature, as well as our nature and character. And because salvation only happens in the context of the church, these subjects are in many ways inseparable. Throughout this whole study, we rely on what God has revealed to us, and so even though God is the logical starting place for all of this, these conversations often begin by establishing the ground rules for talking about him. This happens in the subject of bibliology, the study of the Bible itself. But because God has revealed himself in more than just the Bible, things like creation, for example, or his image in mankind, we often talk about all the modes of revelation in the way that they relate to one another in a separate subject, often called prolegomena, or the first words. Here too we might think about the relationship between revelation and reason, or the roles of things like tradition and culture. As you approach Doctrine II, you will need to have some awareness of the truths in each of these subjects, even if you have not studied them directly. Thankfully, just as God did not reveal all of this in a straight line, so also we can learn much even jumping into the conversation halfway. Whether you took Doctrine I already or not, what we study here will help illuminate and refine our understanding of the subjects covered in that course. But note, the subjects in Doctrine I are, by and large, subjects where there is a lot of agreement. To disagree strongly on things like the Trinity, or the spiritual lostness of man, or the dual nature of Jesus Christ, is to find yourself outside of the Christian faith entirely. However, Doctrine II contains more subjects in which there's room to disagree, and where disagreements are more likely to land you in a different denomination rather than a different religion altogether. So one emphasis in this course will be on disagreeing well, being charitable to other views, exploring different denominational perspectives, and clarifying what counts as legitimate developments core to our Christian faith. It's this dynamic that the book Retro Christianity uniquely addresses in this course. Understanding how traditional categories of doctrine relate to one another can help you keep your bearings as you jump into the deep and wonderful subjects we explore in this course. These subjects influence each other, and that influence goes both ways.